Internet of Things, it was flowing full. There is no place to sit. Agriculture and food processing also okay. Now we come to, Sivadas, where she was responsible for the development of strategic initiatives for future growth of the company. She has also engaged in commodity derivatives, which is NCDX. Her academic credentials include an MBA from Mumbai University, an MS from Michigan University, US, and an undergraduate degree in agricultural sciences. So please put your hand together to welcome Meera Nair amongst us, please. Welcome, Meera. Yes. As per your name plate where it was kept. It's free. It's not free seating, but it's okay. Let me introduce the next panelist, Radhika Menon. Radhika, I would have read out your CV, which was 3 years old. So I got the new one just now. Radhika has more than 2 decades of experience working with blue chip companies like NIIT, Hutchison Max, GE iProcess, Emphasis, FirstSource, Sutherland in various leadership roles. With a proven track record in operations, migrations, global service quality, and L&D, learning and development, she brings to the table her vast experience in solving business problems, impacting top and bottom line. With a certificate in professional coaching from International Coach Federation, she has been coaching and mentoring leaders over the past 8 years. See, when we have pilots, we say that he has clocked so many flying hours. I think Radhika has clocked 2,000 coaching hours. So I think she has a very vast experience of coaching. So we're going to hear in terms of what all she has done in these 2,000 hours. Her area of interest is Vedic psychology. I don't understand what that stuff is, but I think we'll hear from her. What is Vedic psychology? And leadership. In 2015, she, along with Priya Deepak, I think she is also here, 2 budding young entrepreneurs, started what is called the Village Fair. I think you should visit this website. A very, very novel business idea. A for-profit social enterprise, reviving healthier lifestyle products such as natural cookware and textiles. നമ്മുടെ മലയാളത്തിൽ പറഞ്ഞു കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ നമ്മുടെ നാട്ടും പുറത്തുള്ള സാധനങ്ങൾ വെച്ച്, അതായത് ചട്ടി, മറ്റേത് നമ്മൾ ഈ ചട്ടിയിൽ ഉണ്ടാക്കിയിട്ടുള്ള മീൻ കറി എപ്പോഴും ടേസ്റ്റാന്ന് പറയും. So like that, she is going around the villages, collecting the very traditional kind of cookware. The enterprise supports lower economic groups to earn a dignified living from their homes and communities. Also provides both economic and social support for mental health initiatives run by NGO MEHEC. Radhika is a member of TiECon Kerala and is a mentor for startups. She also serves in the advisory board of few startups. Put your hand together to Radhika, please. We have the last panelist, Preeti Nambiar. If you look at the panelist, I don't know how Rajesh, where is Rajesh, picked up all these good speakers, but all are from Kerala. You know, Nair, Menon, Nambiar, and Rajesh also is a Nair, but it has nothing to do with that, you know. So we have Preeti Nambiar, the founder of a company called Banyan Tree. Please do a Google search. You will see fantastic results. And we will be very happy to see that such people are there in Kerala, but she's from Kerala, but has gone abroad, studied abroad, did a lot of things. To quickly go through her CV, he's the founder and chief consultant at Banyan Tree, a business consultancy company for corporate and business alike. Preeti has extensive professional experience in investment banking and private equity. So it's not only for coaching or mentoring, but it's also for you. Any people want any money in terms of putting in money, I think, please go to Preeti Nambiar. I hope you have no objection in me telling this, Preeti. Working with the biggest financial organization of the world, her work involved advising governments and institutions on which economies and industries to invest in, then building companies across sectors, pre and post investment. She has worked with Merrill Lynch, Singapore, Credit Suisse, New York, and I can't pronounce this, Guggenheim, India. She was also associate as faculty with London School of Economics, India affiliate, and the International School, Bangalore. Preeti did her MBA in banking finance and Masters International Economics from Bocconi University, Italy, and MS in Financial Engineering from Carnegie Mellon University and Nanyang Technology University of Singapore. Please put your hand together to welcome Preeti. So when Rajesh invited me, welcome Preeti. When Rajesh invited me to chair this panel, I asked who are the panelists. So he told, look Kumar, it's going to be, he calls me MSA. It is going to be an MSA Angels session. So we have 3 angels here. I think Preeti is of course a private equity investment banker. So we will like to hear from them in terms of the people part, which many of the speakers spoke today morning. And I think without much of time wasted on introduction, I think what the structure will follow is, because I myself was monitoring the time for other panels, so I can't, and George Cora will kill me because he is the Chief Operating Officer of this program. George, I think I'm supposed to finish by 5:15, right? So what we'll do is, time is now 5 minutes past 4. So we'll close around 5 minutes to 5 and then leave the room for discussions, Q&A, because that will be more interesting. So we'll go through a panel discussion. We are just going to exchange some notes in terms of what is all this stuff about coaching and mentoring and all that stuff. So if you don't mind, I will just sit down. Have you provided 4 mics here? Yeah, okay, great. So how we'll start is maybe starting with Preeti. Would you like to say in 3 minutes something about yourself more than what I have read out?
Is this mic working?
Yes.
Yeah.
Is your
The economy is going to make the economy grow. There needs to be still a support system which
we look at the people behind the idea.
absolutely.
Yeah, so that's what Preeti told, and we'll have more in terms of when a private equity investor or an angel investor or a VC venture capitalist, you talk about it. Basically, you look at the people behind, even an IPO for that matter. When you get the prospectus for an IPO, we look at who is the management, who is behind it, right? So we'll come to that. So over to Radhika now. Would you like to talk a few things about you, Radhika? Mic on?
Yeah, it's on.
Yeah, hi. Thanks, Kumar. Thank you, Ty, for this opportunity. Well, I think my CV was read out. For about 22 years when I worked in corporate with different companies, and I worked extensively in ITES sector, which was BPO. One of the early entrants in BPO sector. So you worked with huge number of people, extremely people-critical processes. So that's how I think from a hardcore operations person, I moved. I did different roles. Somewhere, I gravitated towards learning and development, especially leadership development. Because no matter what process you have, no matter what policies you have, what workflows you have, end of the day, it's people that matter. So when you handle huge teams, like for example, I had a team of, I was responsible for a group of say 5,000 people across 3 different continents. So it was not the process, of course, there were robust processes, dashboards, reviews and everything. But when you have 5,000 people, it is 5,000 mindsets. So to bring it together, to channelize, and really hit the mark in terms of business deliverables. That's I think is one of the hugest challenges. And even today, when you talk about IT or ITES, even some of the other industries like logistics, whichever is people intense, one of the biggest issue is attrition and people management and employee satisfaction, etc., etc. And there's a huge vacuum with the open economy and the surge of all these companies. There's a vacuum in terms of leadership. People were not really groomed to be leaders. You became, you were in the front line, and 2-3 years you became a team leader, and then you were, so there is not enough investment in grooming these people people to leadership roles. So much so that some of the big companies are investing in training senior people, their vice presidents, etc., as mentors, within the system. So there's a lot of work to be done in that people area.
See, when we were exchanging notes prior to this particular panel, Radhika made a very pertinent point that now I understand why she made that point. She made a point on work-life balance, which we keep talking, and all this Gen Y. I know why it's called Gen Y. I think we'll talk about it later. But people who are born after 1982 is called Gen Y or whatever. For the time period keep on shifting to define it, Gen Y. They have a serious work-life balance issue. So she was telling that we should also discuss that part, Radhika, in terms of the work-life balance.
Right.
So having managed 5,000 people in a BPO, I can imagine you will have definitely some interesting experience to share with us, and we look forward to that. Now we go to Meera. Meera, would you like to tell something about yourself?
Thank you, Kumar, and thank you, TiECon Kerala, for having called me as a speaker today. I am essentially a growth consultant, consulting on strategic initiatives and also on coaching aspects. When I started off as a coach, it was initially for corporates, and I realized that people management was essential. While the CXOs knew that they had large teams and they had processes, they were somehow struggling to find out methods by which they could make their teams or their higher level executives understand what was required. And it had to really come from within, and that's where a coach makes a difference. I also work extensively with entrepreneurs, both social entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs who require mentoring. So that is where we have various skills that are required, both as a mentor and as a coach. And these are some of the things that we will be covering while we are having this discussion.
Interesting. When I interacted with Meera, she asked me, okay, what is it we are going to talk about? Are we talking about executive coaching or business coaching? I was simply bowled over by that, so I had to ask what's the difference between the two. And she explained it nicely in a way that, look, executive coaching is more related to function, more related to behavioral aspects of leadership, whereas business coaching has an element of functionality in terms of what you do. So I think we have just set the context now in terms of this particular session. Let's quickly move on. I'm sure many of you know we all use these two words interchangeably: mentoring and coaching. I would like to ask the distinguished panelists, maybe starting with Radhika, is it one of the same when we talk about mentoring, coaching? Because I hear from my client, they're also, okay, come on, are you mentoring or coaching? So, Radhika, can you quickly throw some light into what is the difference between the two? I mean, though it is little academic, but it's very relevant for the startups.
Yeah. So I love stories, so let me take you back to a story. So the word mentor, and I keep saying this in every forum, the word mentor comes from the name of a character in the book Iliad, written by Homer. Read Homer. If you have not, please do. It's really an excellent story about leadership. So when the king leaves his country to go old, a boy called Telemachus, in the hands of a very old wise man in the court. That wise man's name was Metis. Okay, so in the story, as you read, it's like Iliad is like the Ramayana of the West, you can say so. So during the story, goddess Athena, who is the goddess of wisdom, enters into Metis' body and teaches this young boy how to be a king, how to fight war, how to be just, and so that is the origin of the word mentor. So a mentor essentially is somebody who is a wise person, who is experienced in that particular area, who has had a lot of experiences. So the mentor shares those experiences, guides the person, suggests, gives inputs, etc., and grooms that person. Now coaching, again let's go back to a story. The word coach comes from the name of a place called Koch in Hungary. So that is KOCH. Now that is where the first coaches were made for the horse-driven wagons, because earlier people traveled on horsebacks, they were exposed to the elements. Then they, in the 18th century, late 18th century in Harvard, to describe an instructor who would help you in exams. Okay, or he is a coach, which means that the coach is providing a safe, secure environment for your journey to get from place A to place B. Now, essentially the coach need not be experienced in that particular area. Okay, so essentially coaching becomes a subset of mentoring. Now, while mentoring is long term, it can be lifelong also. Coaching is very specific, coaching is very process oriented, and coaching, a coach may not, like for example, most of the sports, not most, all the sports stars have a coach. Yeah, so that coach's job is, the coach may not be a better player or better athlete, but the coach will give the tips and techniques and provide that safety net for the athlete or the sports person. So that is the essential, it's very, very clear. It's just that you have to make that little effort to Google and see it is there. Whatever I am saying is there, I think, in Wikipedia. So it's very simple. Mentoring is a longer process and coaching is a shorter process, very, very precise. It's like a surgery and it is time bound.
Excellent. I think this Katrina used to be the worst hurricane, right? Or she was the mentee?
I am trying to understand with mentoring or mentee. I think it's after lunch effect, embassy loss.
I don't know. Anyway, so basically I think it's a nice point what you made, Radhika, like you want to go from point A to point B. You do it. You depend on a coach. You are on a very long journey. It will be more of a mentor, if I have understood you correctly. So we will get more perspective as we go along. Meena, would you like to add the difference between coach and mentor?
If I were to draw a parallel between the Indian epic Mahabharata...
Can you hear Meena, or do you want to just hold it?
Yeah. If I were to draw a parallel between the Indian epic Mahabharata and the terms coaching and mentoring, essentially Krishna would be called the person who actually helped him in archery, was the person who helped him develop that particular skill. So that is where he was a coach. So that is essentially the difference between a mentor and a coach. Now to draw another example from my real life experience, while I was mentoring an American entrepreneur who came into India to set up operations in the rural sector, essentially in the agribusiness, I was called in to mentor him, especially because of my experience in the agribusiness sector. Now, I was again called by a social entrepreneur to coach him. At that point in time, I did not have any experience in social entrepreneurship. The only thing that I understood was I could help him bring out the best in himself, and that's where my ability as a coach.
When we're working with startup companies and teams, we usually term that as a mentoring engagement, because we work with them on everything from understanding in business terms what is their philosophy, what does that translate into in terms of a firm, in terms of their team, in terms of operational, and also who work on, coach them on teamwork, or coach them on how to sell this product in terms of brand management or selling techniques. So while we engage as a mentor, we also then help the company identify specific skills or gaps in their growth pattern, coaches to come in and help that company through that particular gap. That is a coach. So
we map out, how the business should grow, and, I throw questions around why you're not looking at your existing customers to grow the business, and then, have that long discussions, sometimes hours long, etc. That is a part of mentoring, and those inputs I would give them in terms of, how the team should look like, if business is at X and at X+1, what the team should look like, and how do you prepare for that, hiring the people
what process in place, how do we do the reviews, etc. In between all of this, during my engagement, if both the partners, sometimes one-on-one and sometimes even with the two of them together, and that is a coaching conversation, because there the solution lies within themselves. It's not for me to tell, you should talk like this or you should behave like that. It is for me as a coach to open up, reframe their perspectives, get their judgmental, blocks away and open that conversation and move forward. So often when you engage with startups, especially, you may start off as a coach or you may start off as a mentor, but you will play three roles. You will play mentor, you will play coach, you will also play, a consultant.
I think it's interesting because from what you mentioned, what Radhika mentions is in a startup phase, when you enterprise, the roles are not clearly defined, and you raised a very interesting point, we'll come to that a little later. Between two partners in the same firm, I think Kavita in the morning session mentioned about it, if you really say that. We'll come to that, we'll reflect on that later. So basically again it comes to in terms of, it's a combination of both. Meera, your take on mentoring versus coaching on startup?
Essentially, when startups are in the ideation stage and when they're still trying to figure out whether they need to go forward or whether that idea is fine or whether they can actually go forward, that time they really need a mentor if they need someone. They actually need a person who's specialized, who's experienced, who has been there, done that, to sit there with him or her and explain things to them. But if they've moved forward and if they've reached the growth stage, essentially they've started looking for funding, or they have disagreements between themselves, or if they want to know how to lead their team better, or if they have some issues regarding how to make presentations better to the private equity investor, how to get venture funding. If they have some very specific issues, then they're better off going to a coach. But one should always remember that entrepreneurs are, sometimes it always starts and ends with an entrepreneur. So doing a coaching, having a coaching intervention.
I'm not sure about the screening part, but I usually believe that when we work with firms, some teams, he said he needs a break from working and processing things and meeting people and networking, all of these things. He needs a break. So he started running, okay, and he started practicing for marathons. And so he started going to marathon training and running marathons. And he finds that when he goes for his marathon training, his person with him is the Accenture India chief. And then when he was finishing his marathon one day, he's coming after his 42 kilometers and he's walking out with Cisco chief. And he realized that when he was taking his break from his work, he realized everybody else is taking the same break. So he realized that, he made way better contacts. Why trying to run away from his work?
I think those who listen to Kavita today morning in the fireside chat, she runs 600 kilometers in 4 months. Very successful businesswoman. Came from Manipal and then went to IIM Bangalore, and when she told that same thing, and you are not there for the morning session, she told the same thing what she's telling now, Preeti's telling that, look, marathon running is okay, it's a physical exercise, but she told two things. One is networking,
Yes.
which you just now mentioned. Another thing is CSR. Yes. You do it for NGOs, you contribute to the society. I think George Cora is having a very vital technique. But George, your clock shows 19 minutes left. Anyway, we will go on with the Q&A. I just one point on the work-life balance. I think, though there is a difference of opinion among the panelists, I will share a quick 1 minute experience with you. I was coaching a person who was promoted as a CFO recently in a very big company in Kochi. We do this 360-degree, feedback, the multi-rated feedback as a tool. Fortunately, he put his wife as a respondent. So I asked him, look, why did you take the chance? No, Mr. Kumar, I want my wife. And she told, look, this guy is a big problem. And he doesn't take her out and all that. And even before the board meeting, he's a CFO. He keeps a small pad near the bed. And he gets up suddenly at 11:30 or 12 o'clock in the night and lies down. And his wife is watching up and seeing that. So you have to take coaching goal as, achieve work-life balance by blah, blah, blah. We all coaches do that. And post-intervention, when I had this interview with his wife to see the impact of intervention, she told Kumar, at least this guy is not getting up in the night before the board meeting and he's sleeping well. So there is a way to do that. What Meera told is right. I mean, there is the way to time it, like what you also told, in terms of controlling your time. It's not that you don't have the time. You can always do that. And this fellow did it in terms of a coaching goal and a coaching agenda. I will quickly put it my mind. I will stick to the time, 5 minutes more Q&A. The floor is open. Can you quickly pass it around? Any questions, please?
Between the mentor and the coach, who has to give you insight and vision? Mentor or the coach?
Insight into what? Insight?
And vision.
Insight and vision.
Would you like to take this question?
Yeah, mentor. Because you're still in the beginning stage and you're still in the ideation stage. So, insight to do the business, vision to have for the business. Another way of looking at this is, if you do not have the right vision, I mean, what are you going to do? Is it enough if you get advice and expert opinion from others? But if you're actually looking at it and you still feel you want someone, then it's better for a mentor.
Any other answers?
Yeah, so insight is something that you got to have yourself. Vision again is your own vision, but to kind of validate that, going to a mentor would make sense. And once you have validated that, to the journey to achieve that could be, you could go to a coach where there are specific, showstoppers and how do you deal with that. So that could be the coaching part.